hills and mountains of North Carolina. Big story. Over the last several days, we had a nice, a good show last night to recap the latest on that, and now we have some additional updates for you this morning. So quickly, let's go into the headlines. Rapidly deteriorating conditions expected later tonight, early tomorrow morning in the western North Carolina mountains, really all over the Carolinas, but that's where we're going to, but western North Carolina into parts of the Piedmont are where we're going to see a lot of that heavy precipitation in the form of snow, very likely, but also ice and sleet mixing in. And this is still, you know, we're still going to have precipitation type issues for a while on this, and it's evolving into a nowcast at this point. So we made our best stabs, and now we need to see how it plays out. We do want to highlight the potential for freezing rain in the Piedmont of North Carolina, stretching into the upstate of South Carolina, Charlotte, Raleigh, Greenville. Definitely something to watch there. And again, that uncertainty around the precipitation totals is something that is really going to be the fly in the ointment. We're kind of all waiting on the edge of our seats with this to see how this plays out. The other part, too, that it doesn't get as much play, but is something that is going to be almost equally disruptive, at least for a time, in coastal areas, including downtown Charleston, potential for tidal flooding Sunday morning as tides will head over 8 feet. And then there's also the potential for those tides to coincide with some very heavy rain. And so we may see significant travel disruptions in downtown Charleston. Preparations are being made now for the potential for significant flooding in the downtown area tomorrow morning, roughly anywhere from 7 a.m. to noon. That's the current thinking there. So definitely something to watch. This show is going to focus on the winter weather threat. We're going to talk a little bit more about flooding a little later today. And so you'll want to just keep an eye out for that. We'll have more information on that as it goes. Still some uncertainty there. But let's look at the winter storm alerts here. Again, we have winter storm warnings now extending as far east as Raleigh. That was a change overnight. The midnight shift at Weather Service Raleigh decided to extend the winter storm warnings eastward. They've also extended winter weather advisories pretty close to the coast at this point, basically, you know, just inland of the coastal counties in eastern North Carolina. So this is in the I-95 corridor. We may see some sleet and snow and maybe even some freezing rain. Freezing rain is definitely a concern from Raleigh to Charlotte, but snow is also certainly potentially big deal in the mountains and in the foothills, getting into the central Piedmont and into Greensboro and those areas here. And those winter storm warnings extend all the way into northeast Georgia. We do have a winter storm watch that continues. This winter storm watch continues generally for the rest of the upstate south of I-85 and then and just north of 20. And then generally south of 20 we're going to be dealing with all rain. But we still want to watch. We're still going to watch those areas to see what the precipitation type stuff does. Those may be upgraded to winter weather advisories later today. Remember, watch to advisory is an upgrade. It's not a downgrade. It's an upgrade. It means something is happening. It might not be the most disruptive, but it means something is happening. So something to keep in mind there as you listen for these winter weather headlines coming out from the National Weather Service in your respective location later today. Let's go to the radar here. We're getting some reports of rain falling, generally in the Midlands and in Georgia here. Been looking at some MPing reports this morning. We talked about MPing last night. Melissa did. Great tool. Highly recommend it. Please send in your reports. We've had a couple reports of flurries, generally around the North Carolina-South Carolina border, very much in the in the mountains area, in the mountains at higher elevations. We've had some reports this morning. So watching that closely. Again, this rain will set in and help set in the surface wedge that is beginning to build southward. So looking at the surface map here, we see a little high pressure centered over Virginia. This is going to wedge south. And the big question is this low, which is now roughly, you know, a little east of Texas over Louisiana. That low and that high, as they play together, let's see how far north the warm air can go, and let's see how far south the cold air can go at the surface. And then we got to watch the overrunning on top, where some warm advection from the south may will definitely play a part in throwing a wrench in those precipitation type total. So here's the latest modeling from the high resolution rapid refresh model. This was run around 8 o'clock this morning. And so taking a look at this, you see the precipitation shield evolving over northern North Carolina, western North Carolina. And as this moves in, something to note is that we'll rain most of the day, but as we get later tonight, as we get, around midnight, 1 a.m., we start to see the snow really begin to pick up in the mountains, and then we get into potentially sleet and freezing rain further south, mixing in with snow. So again, this is a model's guess at precipitation type. It's not going to be this exact. Don't put too much faith in exact boundaries. These precipitation type boundaries are going to ebb and flow with time. But this general idea of what the thinking is pretty much backs it up very well. Let's take a look at the snowfall forecast from the National Weather Service. And again, last night we were thinking maybe, the Carolina Weather Group was thinking, maybe not so much snow in Raleigh, but now that has changed. A significant increase in snow from the National Weather Service forecast over there, but we're looking at 14.7 inches still possible in the mountains here in North Carolina. And so this is a snowfall forecast again, and this, Charlotte could see very tight gradient here towards the south. It's going to be interesting to see, very, very sharp, and then a distance of 20 miles could separate you from a foot of snow from less than 4 to 6 inches or even lower. So again, it all depends on how much sleet mixes in, how much freezing rain happens. So let's talk ice. And icing threat, certainly a concern from Raleigh down to Charlotte into Greenville. And this is something that we're going to need to watch closely for significant travel impacts. Not seeing much in the way of the quarter size, the quarter-inch accretion that we look for particularly damaging ice storm event. However, ice and snow combined with wind could cause some pretty significant power outages, and we want people to be prepared for that possibility. So again, what to expect, let's break it down a little bit just by region. Western central North Carolina, later tonight, temperatures will fall, snowfall begins. It's going to be heavy at times. Still thinking that a band is going to set up over the mountains with some orographic lift from the low, and it's going to be nasty. It's going to be nasty up there. And in upstate South Carolina, the risk for freezing rain, sleet, snow mix will increase overnight into Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. The low is going to move north. It's going to continue to draw cold air down as that and help build that wedge in as well. And so that overrunning is going to continue to cause precipitation type problems well into Sunday. Midland's main concern here is rain. Same with the low country. And again, localized flooding around rivers. We have rivers in flood. There will be more rivers in flood. So be listening for those river flood warnings. And then in the low country, again, coastal flood advisory is pretty much a guarantee for much of the low country of South Carolina, and probably all the way up into the Grand Strand too. Coastal flooding is almost a certainty with this. Is very tight, strong onshore winds. We have gale warnings now out in the coastal waters. So some very heavy wind, very heavy rain, and high tide will combine Sunday morning, looking to provide some potentially serious travel impacts for much of the state. So again, Sunday's a good stay inside day. Today's a pretty good stay inside day. It's been very chilly, about 47 here in Charleston as of this recording. 50 will be charitable in many spots, and it's going to continue to trend cooler as the day goes on for the north, as that cold air wedges down. Again, taking a look at that surface map, that wedge of high pressure is going to sharpen, build southward. This low will help tighten that wedge, and it's going to be a nasty few days. So again, best thing to do is stay up to date with us. The Carolina Weather Group will be tweeting. We'll be on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope. As needed, we're going to be starting up some 24-hour broadcasting around noon or so. To keep you informed, we'll carry press conferences from the North Carolina Emergency Management. Haven't seen anything from South Carolina on this yet, but if that happens, we will try and carry it and keep you posted as best as possible. Again, using these channels, listen to us in the podcast. We will, remains to be seen if we're going to do a special show tonight, but we'll keep you posted on that. Follow our social channels, and we'll let you know. But for now, I'm Jared Smith with the Carolina Weather Group out of Charleston, South Carolina. Stay warm and finish your prep now, and we'll ride this out together. And stay frosty, my friends. Take care.